today's topic is lack of trust.
And this is a huge one.
Yes.
Huge one, especially in our relationship. It was definitely something that we had to overcome.
Yeah.
And it played out a lot in our relationship, didn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And so this is a big subject, and it covers many kind of facets or many ways of how it can play out. Like lack of trust can play out like it's lack of trust within yourself. There's lack of trust in others. So it plays out many different ways in a relationship, and it has different impacts of how that plays out.
And so when you hear trust in a relationship, a lot of people tend to think of, fidelity, in terms of a relationship and cheating and all that sort of stuff with trust. But there's a whole nother world of trust, and we sort of had to navigate through that in terms of being able to trust someone else with actually revealing all the parts of you.
Yeah.
And that takes a lot of courage to do.
Yeah, definitely. And lack of trust gets impacted by different reasons, different things. So it's like, again, like looking at unpacking our baggage, it's like what has happened in our past for us to have mistrust, or what has happened for us not to trust. And then if we don't deal with that, then we can bring that into our new relationship. And then even that partner hasn't got the same stuff as your old partner, but we can see them as the same and project our past baggage onto our new partner, and then believe that they have the same, you can't trust them just like all your other partners. So it gets carried on. So if we don't deal with what's inside, if we don't deal with that, with the trust issues, we can bring them into our new relationship. And that's what most people do when they don't deal with their baggage. So they project, and it's things that can happen from our childhood.
He's specifically talking about me.
Oh, am I? Oh, really? Oh, whoops.
You're like literally just laying it all out. Like, that's me.
So do you want to share like how that's been for you?
So everything that we are sort of sharing is coming from our own experience of how we experience lack of trust in our relationship. And we hope that it can support you. So, take what you need from it, and then just leave the rest. Discern what what resonates with you. And, don't take it as Bible for us. It's just our truth, and we're wanting to, express that, and hopefully it can support you. So for me, trust and how that's played out in our relationship, I have created stories in my life, and that definitely dates or goes back to my childhood. So some of you might not know, but I grew up in a family. I was from the Philippines. My mum met my dad when I was about 2 years old. But growing up, I was under the assumption that my dad was my real dad. And I grew up to about 11 years of age, and it was then when my parents actually sat me down and said, hey, by the way, your dad isn't your real dad, and we don't know who your dad is. So from that point on, I completely, like, my whole world just crumbled, and I couldn't trust anyone. I created a story that everyone outside of me I couldn't trust with anything, or trust with myself kind of thing, or to be myself, because for all these years I've completely been myself, been free, and then all of a sudden,
this big secret, this bombshell that people will lie, people aren't honest, they don't tell the truth.
And to come from my parents, even though I knew they were just doing the right thing, they were just trying to do the right thing that they thought was right for me at the time. And I completely respect that, and I honor that in them. And but for a 11-year-old girl, it was very difficult to take on board. So then I started to go through life collecting baggage, as you will, like collecting stories, collecting evidence for myself that I couldn't trust people outside of me. So that, played out with friends, that played out with ex-partners that had cheated on me. And so I could always look to the past to say, I can't trust anyone, which justified me in being able to put up walls and barriers within myself so that I couldn't let anyone in.
And Sam, when we do that, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yes.
So when Annalie goes, I can't trust anyone, and that's happened from a young childhood, and then it happens that she starts to look for evidence as she's growing up, and then someone, doesn't show up, and she's like, oh no, I can't have trust in people. People, don't fulfill on their word, and we gather all this evidence, and we carry this as the truth.
Yes.
And I'm not saying whatever happened with Annalie didn't happen. It happened.
Yeah.
And also, it doesn't mean what she made it mean about that she can't trust people. Some people make different stories, and this is the stories that we make.
Yeah.
And so as she was growing up, and then bringing that into a relationship, so bringing her fears with men that she can't trust anyone, so she never actually really trusted men.
No.
And then it's like this self-fulfilling prophecy, because we put this energy out that we either become needy or we become a certain way. We hold on really tight, and this is what happens when we hold really tight and like, don't leave me, don't let me go, don't let me down, you're not allowed to.
Don't go out with your friends because, you're going to cheat on me or that kind of thing.
Yeah, when we put out this energy, then the man or even the woman, like whatever dynamic it is, plays out, and where they feel constricted or they don't feel they've got the freedom, they don't feel like they can be themselves. And they go out, and because they feel so held or so tired or so frightened, or they experience something in that relationship, and then something else shows up where they feel they can be free or whatever that is. And then they go out and cheat or whatever happens to be, or they leave the relationship because they just can't be in that relationship because they don't feel like they have room to breathe. And then it's another cycle. See, everyone just leaves me. Everyone doesn't tell me the truth.
It just justifies the story. Yeah. It's just the evidence, and then you can keep going. And so when I met Roman, I didn't realize that story was playing out for me. I saw it as I was a victim to this happening to me. And then it wasn't until do you want to go through the story about
Tinder?
Yeah.
So before we met, like, it was ages ago, and like, Tinder wasn't as big as it is now, but I had Tinder on my phone. And I was terrible at it. Like, I hardly even got any dates on that stuff. But yeah, I still had it after, was it, official?
When we were official,
yeah.
So he had it, and then he had just literally moved into the house.
Yeah.
And I have 2 children, and so we had made a commitment to each other that we were going to pursue this relationship. Yeah. And he had literally, it had been about a week or something like that he'd moved into the house. And then I think one night I was cooking dinner, and I had received this text from a friend, and she had taken a screenshot, and it was Roman's profile on Tinder that showed up on her Tinder, and it had showed that he had been active, like in the last 5 minutes, and he was actually on the way home to meet me. So then you can imagine having all those woundings of having, other men cheat, and I kind of knew his history as well. We can talk about that after.
This is done, we can talk about your healing, and then I'll talk about what I did.
So then once I got that, I was like, holy fuck, what is this? He's just moved in. I've just made a commitment, like I've got kids. All this stuff was running through my head, and I was absolutely ready to run. I was absolutely ready to just go, you know what? Like, without even talking to him.
I haven't even been home yet. I don't know what the fuck's going on.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to tell him to move out. I'm finishing this. This is ending. I'm not doing this anymore. So he ended up coming home, and, in the past, I would have held on to it for a while. like just to and then, you know, build resentment, and then anything else, like I would just hold on to it. I wouldn't communicate it. But with Roman, there's something with our connection where I can't not be honest with him. And he picked it up as soon as he walked in the door, like, what's wrong? What's going on? And then I had to tell him, like I said, I got this message from a friend who's seen you on Tinder, and like, did you go on Tinder? And then
yeah, and it was weird, like, because literally I haven't been on Tinder for I don't know how long, and I stopped. I think there was a train, and it's like just a natural reaction, whether it was to look on Facebook. I just went on Tinder, and it was literally for like a split sec, and it's how the universe, and this is the interesting thing, how the universe works for us to learn and for us to heal things that we need to heal about ourselves. Because literally for me, it was like a second, and then I'm like, what am I doing? And I got off the app, and in that second, her friend seen me. So like everything had to align for Annalie to heal this aspect of herself. And this is what relationships do, and this is how universe works. It works in ways
to create situations
for us to bring those past relationships that Annalie hasn't learned to heal yet, to bring them up so she could heal that within herself.
Yeah.
And so I came home and she's like, "Did you go on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did go on it." And I knew my intention.
Yeah.
I knew my intention of my own truth of what it was.
Yeah.
And she got really upset. Like,
reactivated. Like I was like wailing. And...
Yeah. And I was kind of like, but I knew within myself, and I didn't get reacted, because at that point I knew it was Annalie's stuff that she had to go through, because I knew within myself what my intention was and what I was meaning. And so I didn't get upset at her for being upset at me
the way that I did,
because my history, and this is what I had to heal, my previous relationship, and I've only had one serious relationship, and in that relationship I cheated on my girlfriend like 3 times, and I was the cheater. You know, I was that person that cheated, that experienced that did all those things. And for me, what I became afraid of is committing to a relationship, because I thought that's who I am. I thought that I could never really commit, that I would end up hurting girls, because that's what I did in the past. So I was always scared to commit, because I was always scared that I wouldn't find the one, that the girls that I was with weren't the one, and then I felt like I couldn't leave the relationship, and I felt trapped in the relationship. So there's constant fear that I would, if I do go into a relationship, I'd feel trapped, and then the only way out was I'd have to cheat, or I'd have to
create a
situation to be able to leave that situation. And that's a part of me that I had to heal, that I can trust myself, that I can be in this relationship, that I can be committed, that I can do this. And when that came up for Annalie, I had to be okay within myself not to project, because in my previous relationship, that used to happen a lot, where she would doubt me, and she had every right to, but I'd get triggered, because how dare you, and justify. But it was actually going on. So this time I actually knew there was nothing there for me, so I could hold myself and be okay in my truth with letting Annalie heal her part. And then once she could heal that, she also allowed me to heal my part, where she totally trusted me. And when she could give me that trust, because I owned that trust, then I could heal that part within me. And in so many cases, this kind of leads on to that next thing, is trust is owned. Earned, is it? Yeah.
Owned within ourselves. Owned within ourselves.
But it's earned. It's earned. Like, and so is intimacy, and so is safety in a relationship. It's something that we earn from another. It's not something that is given, and we cannot take that from someone. So to feel safe, to be vulnerable, to share yourself, to have trust in another, that safety has to be created in that relationship.
Yeah.
And so many in so many relationships, people think how I get safety is by just totally being vulnerable, and then that'll create intimacy. And people get really hurt, because people have to earn your trust. People have to earn your vulnerability. People have to earn your intimacy, because that kind of deep intimacy that people actually want just doesn't happen.
It's built over
It's
time.
built over time where you feel safe to open parts of yourself, where you feel safe that you can trust this person. You can feel safe to open yourself up to certain feelings and emotions and trust that the other person can handle you in those states. Because so many people open themselves up with
Straight
raw
away,
feelings and
yeah.
emotions, and the other person doesn't know how to hold you, and you get hurt.
Yeah. Because they don't know how to hold that because
Yeah.
of the emotions maybe
Yeah.
they're not okay within
their
themselves.
emotions, yeah.
They can't hold you in that. And then that plays out as like, oh my God, he rejected me
Yeah.
or she rejected me. I just laid out my heart on the line.
Yeah.
But, you know, I was just completely rejected.
Yeah. And it's learning, and it's so important in relationships to learn this dynamic, to be able to communicate. So you can have the trust, and you can have the intimacy, and you can have this openness where you can share yourself. Because if that's not there, if there's resentment, and if there's things unsaid, there's no safety created, and we try to talk around it or on top of it, it can be quite damaging for the relationship, because there's things that haven't been healed. And that person can't hold you, or you don't feel safe to open up, and then there's like this lack of intimacy because we don't feel safe, because there's no safety created. And it's so important, if you're not getting that in the relationship, where you don't feel safe, where you can't open up, where you're not being met, where you're not being felt, where you're not being heard, or you're not being seen, it's so important to have that in a relationship. Because if we don't have that in a relationship, the relationship is just a mess. When you can't be felt and seen, and when you can't trust the other person, when that person hasn't earned your trust. And like I said, trust can be broken very easily, but it's so hard to earn it back. It can be, but it takes time, and it takes some healing. But sometimes when trust hasn't even been broken, and that's when we've got to look at ourselves, if there's never been trust broken in the relationship, like with Romanandannalie, I never broke her trust for her to doubt me in any way.
No.
So there was parts of her that she needed to heal as well.
But that's where I could recognize that, you know, and I was aware that it was my stories, because he actually didn't do anything for me to doubt him.
Yeah.
That's where I could go, hold on a second. So what is actually the truth?
Yeah.
You know, but the story that I had created was like, oh my God, it's happening again, and I'm the victim, and it's just happening to me. So you need to be aware of your stories, and sometimes situations, and that's why situations happen, for you to be aware of your stories. Because I didn't know this, but for all of my life, there were situations being given to me that were trying to get me to see this pattern, or to see this story for what it was, the illusion that it was. But I didn't get it. So it just kept happening. And until I could get it with him, it was like, wow, this is crazy. I've lived my life in this story. It didn't have to be this way. You know, and it was just mind blowing for me. Yeah. And I realized that, oh my God, I need to heal this within myself. And be more secure within myself, and not let those insecurities, you know, take over and run my life, because that's what they did for a long time. A long time.
Yeah. So yeah, there's two parts of kind of trust. There's kind of, if trust has been broken, then it takes time to rebuild it, and the other person has to earn your trust back, and it's shown through action. And if that trust keeps being broken over and over and over again, then you have to look at, is this something you're committed to? Is this something that you actually want? Is this something that you want to be a part of? And then the other side of it, if this trust hasn't been broken, then you're just walking around concerned and worried, like, is it going to
happen again?
Yeah, are they going to cheat on me? Are they going to do this? Are they going to do that? And then that's going to actually have this self-fulfilling prophecy where that will happen, where you'll put out this energy, because we're all energy. And if you're constantly thinking, oh my God, what's going to happen? They're just going out, and you live in fear about your partner cheating on you, that will most likely happen.
See, in my past relationships, I was very much that needy person that would hold, but I'd pretend like I'd have the outward appearance that I don't care, But inside, it was a struggle for me to, you know, and this comes from like trying to possess someone, you know, but it was hard for me to see my partner or whatever going out with the boys, you know, and I'd feel all these insecurities, and I'd be like, I trust you, but I don't trust them, you know, and then those insecurities would come up, but since I've been able to kind of heal those things within myself, I have felt such a secureness within me that it doesn't even bother me if he goes out with the boys and, you know, does whatever. Like, it's not, I used to get all I'd get anxiety. I'd be like, what is he doing? Is there girls there? Is there, you know, and I'd be so stressed out. But this work, you know, doing the work on yourself and having that trust within yourself and knowing that whatever they do is not in your control. You can't control the other person. You know, that's up to them. So within this relationship, I've actually learned how to be secure within myself, which is an amazing thing. I've never been able to feel that before.
Yeah.
You know, to be secure within who I am and that I'm worthy of, you know, being treated the way that I want to be treated. And it's treating yourself first like that, you know, honoring that within yourself first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. And that's the biggest gift a relationship can give. It's like, no matter what has happened, like, even if, like, for example, I did go out and cheat on Annalie, it would have nothing to do with her. And she knows that.
Yeah.
She should know it has more to do with me than what it has to do with her.
Yes.
And that's that trust within herself, that she knows that I'm fine, okay within myself. So you can do what you want to do, and it's not holding on tight.
Yeah.
And when she can do that, and that's most relationships, if you could give your partner the freedom to go out, if that's what they needed to go through, to allow them to actually do what they need to do. And it's not to say whether you'll stay or not, but it's being able to, like, I've always, like, since we've healed this, I've always had a freedom, like, where I don't feel tied down, that I could go out and do what I need to do. And in having that, I don't want to go out. It's like, you know, when you tell kids you can't have this and they want that. We're just the same. If you go, no, and we make these rigid rules where we cannot move, we tend to want to break those rules. But if you give each other, like, I'm the same with Annalie, whatever she needs, like, energetically, she's free. Like, she can go, but I don't know what's going to happen. If she ever does it, I don't know. I can't say. It's going to be there, and we'll have to deal with what we have to deal with. But there's a freedom in me, and if that's what she needs to experience for her growth, for our growth, whatever that is, it's like she's free to do what she needs to do. And when we can have that in a relationship, most of the time we don't want that.
No.
So it's like, it's having that trust in myself and having trust in Annalie, that no matter what we go through, it's what we need to go through.
We need to go through.
And that's that higher level of trust.
Yeah.
Right? So then there's like trust in this, and then
Trust
there's a
in
triune and
divine.
divine, that everything that is happening in our life, in our relationship, having trust in that and finding peace in that it's all meant to happen, and what we're going through is exactly what we need to go through. And I know that can be kind of scary because we want to control, like we spoke in other videos, and it's like, and this is all comes down to from the heart. This is living from the heart. It's like being able to trust
whatever situation comes up.
Yeah, that you're able to deal with it. And it's also, if it is happening over and over and over again, you got to trust yourself in your gut, in your intuition, that you know what's good for you.
Yeah.
And if it feels off, it's most likely it is, and you need to listen to that.
Yeah.
And not stay and try to fix it and change it. And it's like, sometimes the biggest thing that we can do is just leave. And
that's been my journey, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And listening to that gut intuition, if you know that's what you're meant to do, then listen to it.
Yeah.
Because that's where we lose trust, because we stay and then it doesn't change, and then it's like, well, I can't trust myself because I just went against myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Was there anything else? I'm just
I'm
going to
good.
check my notes.
Yeah.
Do we need to go through that? Not really.
No, I think that's good. Yeah.
So maybe, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, well, I kind of did before how to create safety. So it's by communicating. And like I said, safety is earned. Like we have to earn safety, and safety gets created in creating a container. So it's being able to share yourself in a way where the other person feels safe
to share.
So it's like your partner, and that's why it works in relationship. Both partners have to do the work. So the other partner can feel vulnerable or feel safe to open up to the other, because they know they can be held in whatever emotion that they are sharing, and it's sharing in a way, hey, I've got something to say. You know, it's something really important, and you say it in a way so the other partner can go, okay, I can hold this. Instead of just being like, blur, and you dump it, and then we go, why can't my partner hold it? It's because they're like,
he wasn't prepared. They weren't prepared for it.
You know, the same. If I just go, blur to Annalie, and she gets triggered because I didn't set up the context or the container for her to hold me, and then I don't feel safe. So it works both ways. But if you're constantly setting up things and you're not feeling safe, you're constantly getting projected on, you're constantly getting shut down, you know, and they don't listen, and all that happens, we need to start looking at, like, is this the relationship you really need to be in?
But see, that dynamic, that what you've just sort of touched on, like we've experienced that, and we can see, like, I don't know for you, but for me, I see the difference of when I actually communicate to you, like, because sometimes I feel like I get shut down because I just go bleh.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't actually set up a context of what I want to say, and I definitely see the benefits of when we actually communicate, and I say, hey babe, like, I've just had this realization and I just need 10 minutes of your time. Are you able to listen to me? And then I can, you know, say what I need to say and be free and feel that he's going to be present for me within that 10 minutes, you know. But sometimes if he comes home or something like that, and then I just go, hey babe, and then I'm gone for like 30 minutes and he's not there, he's like thinking, what the fuck, like, I need to go, I need to have a shower, I need to do this, I'm hungry, and then he can't be present for me and hold me in that. And then I feel like, well, he's not listening to me anyway. And I've had that experience where I feel like I'm being shut down, I'm not being listened to, he's not present. And I'm sure you've had it vice versa.
Of course. Yeah, of course. And that's why it is so important to set up that container where you feel safe and the other person can hold you in that safety. But after you communicate, and if it's not happening, then you need to look at the relationship.
Yeah.
And just quickly, just as we finish up, just want to, for the couples that are listening to this, we have a 12-week program that we have created. And we haven't released it yet, and it's just out there. So I just want to put it out there. If you're interested or you're curious to know about the 12-week program, it's literally designed to reboot your relationship. So some of the things that we covered over
the last 5 weeks,
and the things that we're going to cover, it's looking at how to reboot it, how to reset. Just like a computer, we need to sometimes reboot the computer because our communication kind of sucks, it doesn't work as well. So this is a way that you can kind of push that reset button to refresh and reboot your system, to get the energies flowing, because sometimes in a relationship we have resentment, we have things unsaid, we don't know how to actually communicate what we want. So this 12-week program is designed for couples especially. It's so powerful in a way to reboot and regenerate and get the energy flowing again and to build intimacy in your relationship. If that's something you're curious about, just comment
or PM us.
Just say, yes, I'm in, I want to know more.
And we can send you
information about it, and you can know more about the program. I just wanted to say that about that. I wasn't planning to,
No.
but it just came up there. So if you actually
Do you know what? I was
in,
thinking that in my head while we were talking, and then
Yeah.
you just came out and said it.
yeah,
So, yeah.
and I think we've seen some great benefits from some people already. So it's like
Yeah.
we just want to bring it
And
out
just
and
in
share
our relationship, like just in, you know, how I've experienced past relationships and then coming into this relationship, how different it is when we can communicate, because
Yeah.
that's like the main foundation,
Yeah.
and take responsibility. And this program is designed to do that for the both of you.
Yeah, and this is also, like, we get this a lot as well, where people
Yeah.
go, no, my relationship is fine. This is not for, like, when you're in dire crisis and you come for help. This is kind of not therapy. This is a conscious way to communicate,
and to maintain your relationship.
And this is, you get processes and tools on how to actually maintain your relationship. So we don't go into that plateau. We don't go into that kind of, as we all do. We all experience places of we kind of like get stale, and it just gets a bit same, and nothing's wrong. But it's like it has lost its spark, and it's lost its energy, and it's lost its vibrancy. So this is a way that you can rebuild that and recreate that, and it's starting like a new chapter.
Yeah, and it's like you know, if you're going to use analogies, it's like a car service. You know, like you go put your car in for a service every 3 months or so. It's like rebooting and refreshing your relationship so you can keep it running and not risk it going down the drain.
A really bad
Exactly.
So yeah.
And that leads us into next week's topic, which is lack of intimacy. Did you know that? Because I did all the writing. I had no idea. But it's a perfect segue into next week. We'll be looking at lack of intimacy in relationships and how that can affect. And we kind of touched on that today with the whole safety thing. So we'll talk more and expand more about that next week. And so we're going to mix it up a little bit. So we're going to go live next Tuesday at 2 p.m. And if you guys have any questions around intimacy, like let us know, comment below, PM us. We'd love to hear from you guys as to what some of your struggles what are some of your challenges in relationships. And we'd love to like do a Q&A or something like that. That'd be great. And we did notice people sort of jumped on. Hi, Beck. Hi, Ryan. I think that's it.
Awesome.
That's it from us. Have a lovely day, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.